The Conor McGregor situation is genuinely disturbing.
I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself if something happens to you, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served.
Hello you gorgeous donuts. Conor McGregor is a former lightweight and featherweight champion in the UFC. He's one of the most famous men to come out of Ireland, if not the world, like he's boxed Floyd Mayweather. He's also the owner of huge businesses like Proper 12 and Forged Irish Stout. This man in the celebrity influencer world holds a lot of weight. However, recently he's been accused of SAing a woman called Nikita in the Beacon Hotel in Dublin in 2018. In this video, we're going to cover the entire court case from start to finish. We're going to discuss the disturbing things that came up in the courtroom about this case. We're going to cover the verdict that the court actually gave, both Nikita's response to the verdict and Conor's outrageous outblast that he's had on social media since, whether Conor can actually go to prison in future over this, and how the entire internet has reacted to this situation. So let's get into this. So Nikita actually tried to take Conor to criminal court over this. However, she was told there was insufficient evidence to bring a criminal case and there was not a reasonable prospect of conviction. Now she's accused Conor McGregor of SA and we're going to discuss how that came about. However, it must be heartbreaking that she tried to take Conor to criminal court over this, but the prosecutors were basically like, you're not going to win. Nikita said that she felt like she was getting treated differently because Conor McGregor was famous. But instead of just taking the defeat on this, Nikita actually has decided to take Conor to civil court. With civil court, you don't need to prove a case beyond reasonable doubt. You just need to kind of prove that this could have actually have happened. In civil court, they basically compare the stories of the victim and the offender. They basically decide the verdict on probability, whereas in criminal court, you have to prove something beyond reasonable doubt. And with civil court, a lot of the time the punishment is like a settlement, like something like an exchange of money rather than actually going to jail for the crime. So let's cover how this all came about. So Nikita Hand is a 35-year-old woman from Dublin and she was on a Christmas night out with her work. She was drinking heavily and she decided to message Conor McGregor because they apparently knew each other from being young. Apparently they were in the same friendship group. She was sending Conor McGregor photos of herself, photos of her outfit, basically insinuating that they could possibly meet up. It is interesting to note at this point that Nikita actually does have a partner and a son at home, which loads of people keep bringing up as if it's like the main part of the case. So she met up with Conor McGregor and his friend called James Lawrence, who's also involved in this case. They went to the penthouse of the Beacon Hotel at 6 a.m. and apparently they were heavily using illegal substances. They ordered drinks to the room. Apparently Conor McGregor actually used his card to order condoms to the room. Can you imagine being that Deliveroo driver, by the way? Oh yeah, mate, is it the order of Glenn's vodka and a pack of Durex? Yeah, that's mine, thank you very much. I hope he got a tip for that. Nikita was also joined with a friend from work, and a friend from work and James Lawrence, Conor McGregor's friend, went into a separate room to sleep together. And it was at this point that Nikita says that Conor McGregor came onto her and wouldn't take no for an answer. It said that he apparently used his body weight to hold her down whilst also choking her, and then later went on to SA her. I will be using the word SA instead of the other word because YouTube doesn't really allow that word, just FYI. Now reading through like what was said in court, the manuscript, it is really dark, so I'm just pre-warning you. I just remember him behind me and I think I was sitting on the bed. He put his arm around my neck and choked me 3 times. I just froze and I couldn't move and I couldn't breathe. I looked at the bedpost and was thinking about my daughter. I kept thinking I was going to die and I was never going to see my daughter again. Now when you read that is just horrific. Like, for any woman to feel that way, like she's on the verge of death because of another man, is just honestly horrific. And it is very specific. Like, if you've made this up off the top of your head, like, honestly, you should be like a scriptwriter in Hollywood. Then he said, that's how he felt when I was in the octagon and I had to tap myself out 3 times. I just thought it was such a weird thing to say. I mean, she has got a point. That is a really weird thing to say. Like, what kind of dirty talk is that from Conor McGregor? Like, from his point of view, does he think this is like what's hot? This is honestly horrific, like genuinely horrific. Like, this is not just any man doing this, which in itself would be horrific. This is an actual UFC fighter who was trained in this sort of combat. Could you imagine how Nikita would be feeling during this? Like, even a skilled fighter would be fearing for his life here, not just any innocent bystander. She said she then managed to get away from Conor McGregor and then she returned home and told her boyfriend what had happened. However, she wouldn't tell him that it was Conor McGregor McGregor who did it because she was in fear of her life. She thought they might actually kill her if they found out she told anyone. Now, honestly, I feel like that's totally valid. Like, not only is she going to be feeling horrific because what's just happened, also she's pretty high on substances, which just elevates your emotions even more. Now, one weird thing that came up in the courtroom was that the boyfriend actually recorded this conversation without Nikita knowing. It is interesting to note that, because why would the boyfriend, like, pre-record this conversation? One thing that might point to the fact of why he recorded it was apparently Nikita was texting him while she was at the penthouse with Conor McGregor. She was basically telling him not to worry, etc. But she was also, like, apparently sending him huge paragraphs. I'm not sure the context of those paragraphs, but clearly her partner felt stressed enough that he had to record this conversation. And some details of this conversation have been released, as it actually was played out in court, which must have been horrific to listen back to. It said here that apparently Nikita crouched in the witness box with her head in her hands as the audio was played, so quite clearly, you know, she was going through it. She asked for a break midway through and collapsed into sobs as she did so. She cried frequently throughout the evidence. Like, this is a woman who clearly really hasn't recovered from this, because obviously, like, as a woman going through this, I doubt you ever really kind of get over something like this. It said here that a partner had repeatedly asked her to identify who had essayed her. She told him that the person who had done this had choked her 3 times and had threatened her that he would kill her. This is honestly so disturbing. It said here that McGregor's lawyers pointed out the many lies she had told in the conversation about where she had been and who she was with. Now, it could be argued that this is a fair point. Obviously, that's the lawyer's job to kind of pick holes in this. However, when you've just been through such a traumatic thing like that, and you're also thinking, wait, I'm kind of admitting that I've cheated on my partner here, you probably are going to tell a few white lies in here, and it's all going to be kind of mixed up, especially because you're high. All I'm trying to say is here, there's like there's reasoning behind why her stories might not line up when she's completely sober to how she was feeling in the moment. A lot of people said this voice note could actually have helped her case, because it kind of proves like how she was feeling at the time. Like, obviously we don't have access to it, but you would have probably have heard how stressed she was feeling, all of these emotions. It just shows it wasn't like pre-planned, etc. You know what I mean? Now, I know a lot of people at this point might be trying to discredit her because like she's cheated on her partner and kind of like ditched her family and went to like Conor McGregor's penthouse at 6 a.m. And that's a complete fair point. Like, nobody's trying to say that Nikita is an angel or that she's like a model citizen. Obviously, her decision to go to this penthouse obviously shows no empathy for her family at home. However, this doesn't mean that she would lie about getting essayed. Like, them two just don't compute at all. And also, some people might be arguing that, well, she went to the penthouse, like, oh, well, surely that's what you ought to expect. Do you know them ones? But just because somebody goes back to someone's house, like, if you take somebody home on a night out, you can't expect that you're going to, like, sleep with them. Like, they still, like, it's their body, their choice. And she might have even have wanted to have intercourse with Conor McGregor, but if he's been excessively aggressive to what she's described, that's where she's allowed to say no and be like, I don't want this anymore, which she clearly did. Some of the extract from this conversation that her boyfriend recorded is just kind of haunting. Nikita apparently said, I told him no, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Apparently she was also apologising to Conor McGregor during it as well. Like, clearly she feels like terrible, which, you know, obviously she has cheated on her partner, she should feel bad for that, but she's also went through a really, really harrowing experience herself. And her partner at the time kept pressing, saying, this isn't a shut up and say nothing situation, this doesn't happen anymore. This thing about keeping quiet about stuff is not effing happening. So credit to a partner, he's actually trying to help her in this situation, but you can understand why she would feel so frightened. At this point, the paramedics were called, and this is where this situation just gets so much more disturbing. Apparently she had a panic attack on the way to the hospital in the ambulance. During this ambulance ride, the paramedics actually examined her, and one of them said that she's never seen bruising like this in a very long time, which for a paramedic to say that, who like deals with this sort of stuff on a daily, weekly basis, that's pretty chilling. Now, trigger warning, because the next thing I'm about to say is pretty graphic. Nikita had been using a tampon at the time, and in the doctor's words, this tampon was wedged so far up. Like, this is so disturbing. Like, wow. It was wedged so far up that it had to be medically removed. Like, do you realise how aggressive you need to be for that to happen? It's honestly one of the worst extracts that I've seen from a case like this. It's interesting because Nikita in 2019 actually reported this to the police, and Conor McGregor was brought in for questioning, but he was later released. But none of the media were allowed to cover this because it was an actual, like, police case. It wasn't a civil court case like it is now. I mention this because the police actually found out that Conor's friend James Lawrence actually slept with Nikita on the same night also. However, Nikita has no recollection of this happening, which that takes it up a notch for me, because how does Nikita not remember that? And also the fact that she slept with both Conor and his friend, like what was going on in this penthouse? Obviously, I don't want to make assumptions here, but was it because she was so high she didn't remember it, or does she just not remember it because, I don't know, it's so long ago? Like, but surely you would remember that. Like, if you remembered the Conor thing, you've surely got to remember James Lawrence saying that he slept with you, because James Lawrence himself has confirmed that this happened. But again, I know myself, when trauma happens, sometimes you can kind of block things out of your head that has occurred and focus on just like a sole part of it. That is completely plausible, but it is interesting. Now, because the police didn't actually charge Conor McGregor, like I mentioned previously, this is when Nikita decided to bring this to civil court. And in this civil court case, she's actually accusing both Conor McGregor and James Lawrence of SAing her. Now, that is interesting because obviously with Conor McGregor, she has so many intimate details of what went on, but she doesn't even remember James Lawrence SAing her, which says to me this could be even darker, because if she's accusing James Lawrence of SA, like she doesn't even remember that. So what does that say about in her own mind what she was going through? Because if she's accusing him as well, in her head she must be racking her brain trying to figure out what happened, and there must be so many empty pieces of that night she's trying to piece together. Also, it's important to note that during all of this, Conor is admitting that they did have sexual intercourse, but he's saying the whole thing was consensual. Now, another thing that's interesting to note just before we get onto the verdict is Nikita's house was actually raided by 4 men in balaclavas, and her current partner, who she's with now, not the one she was with during the time that she was with Conor McGregor, he actually got stabbed when he was trying to defend the home. It's important to note that Nikita's lawyers aren't saying this was Conor McGregor, but it's kind of convenient that as she's bringing this case forward, this sort of thing happens. It might not be linked to Conor, but it could be someone who's like a fan of Conor. It's so hard to say and nobody really knows, but it is very convenient these things happening at the same time. Now, the court went back and forth and took their time kind of deciding on their verdict. Obviously, like I've mentioned earlier, they don't need to prove it beyond reasonable doubt. They just need to compare Conor's story against Nikita's story, and the jury basically have to figure out which one they think's more believable. And they actually decided with Nikita. They believed Nikita's story was more plausible than Conor's, and Conor McGregor has been ordered to pay €250,000 to Nikita. It said here that this was for general damages, medical costs, damages for loss of earnings, and special damages. It's interesting because James Lawrence was actually cleared, so he doesn't have to pay any money towards Nikita. He was cleared of doing any wrongdoing during this situation. Just looking at this case on paper, I can kind of see why, because if Nikita can't remember that happening, it's kind of hard to prove it happening. But with Nikita's case with Conor, there's just so much more specific information about it. And just from an emotional standpoint, I know a lot of like people who, especially Conor McGregor fans, will be like, oh, this is just a money grab, like she just wants money, she's got her money, I hope she's happy now. And to me, like £250,000, like that's a lot of money to anybody, but to Conor McGregor, that's probably like pocket change to him. Like this man's probably worth like £500 million. Like he sold his whiskey business for like hundreds of millions of pounds, and that's just one business he has. I honestly don't think the money side of it is like such a huge thing for him. For him, it's mostly like just the tarnish of his image in his eyes. However, for Nikita's side, like, yeah, the money's cool, but the lasting trauma that she has to deal with, like some of the things that I read, especially about the tampon, etc., that is things that she will take that to like a deathbed. Like she will never get over the trauma of that. And no amount of money can like paper over them wounds and that mental trauma that you've got to take into every single relationship, because that's going to be a thing now, and that's probably changed our entire identity and how she feels about being intimate with someone. Honestly, this will change her entire perspective and her life forever. This isn't something that she's going to forget about in a year or 2 years time. Now, obviously, from Conor McGregor's perspective, he believes that he should be like cleared of any wrongdoing in this scenario, and that's probably more angering Nikita, because even though she's got like the verdict from the civil court case, imagine how it would feel that this person that did this to you is like just completely invalidating you, they've made you feel this way. Just when I mentioned previously that some people will like point that this is like a cash grab from Nikita to kind of get loads of money from Conor, Conor. I did a bit of research and tried to find like an actual expert's opinion on this, not somebody like me who's just covering the situation or somebody that's just talking about it on YouTube. And I actually found a lawyer that deals with cases like this on a daily basis. This is a guy called Terry Gorry Solicitor, and he has a YouTube channel, so check it out if you want to. And he said a lot of cases like this often get settled before they're took to court because it's not worth for the offender, if they've got the money, to go through all of this kind of thing in public and kind of tarnish their image, as bad as that sounds. And somebody like Conor McGregor, with like the unlimited amount of funds he had, if he even thought that this could get took to trial, it's imaginable that he would have attempted to kind of pair off before this kind of got took public. And obviously we have no idea if this has happened, but I imagine if he has kind of put money towards Nikita, it would have been a lot more money than she actually was awarded. Now this is just my opinion, this is not fact, but I think this kind of points in Nikita's favour, that it's not just about the money here. She wants to feel that she's getting justice for what happened to her, and she wants to stand up for like women that go through this and are silenced. Even Terry gave his expert opinion on what he thinks happened here.
She wasn't doing it just for the money. Feel a sense of saying, this isn't right, this man did this to me, and I'm going to show society at large what he did, even though it's going to bring with it all of the attendant publicity.
So that's an expert. That's somebody that has literally looked at this case, looks at cases like this every single day. So I trust his opinion on this. And also, just for people that kind of don't believe her, like, she's not an influencer. She doesn't rely on like social media followers or like attention for like her livelihood. She works in a salon, which obviously is a stable, great job to have, but you know, you don't benefit from going to court with Conor McGregor over this. She's also deleted all of her social medias because she couldn't handle like the kind of hate that was coming her way. So clearly she's just doing this because she's standing up for herself. Just quickly guys, before I proceed with the rest of this video, if you want to join our community, our little corner of the internet we call the Donuts, please do consider subscribing. There'll be plenty of videos like this where I cover serious topics and more fun ones that you can enjoy when you're bored. So do press subscribe and let's get on with the rest of the video. Now, after the verdict took place, Nikita actually came out to the public and read a statement herself.
I want to thank all the women and men out there who have supported me throughout this trial. I want to show Freya and every other girl and boy that you can stand up for yourself, no matter who the person is, and justice will be served. I hope my story is a reminder that no matter how afraid you might be, speak up, you have a voice, and keep on fighting for justice.
Like, that actually gets us emotional, because you can tell like that pure emotion. She's shaking, her voice, you can tell in her voice it's like trembling, like she's so nervous. And she said she's had six years of hell has led up to this moment where like she's finally been like vindicated, finally like her story's out there and she's not been silenced. You know, when you go through something like this, the one thing you constantly do is like invalidate your own feelings, and you kind of tell you, I'm fine, like I'm fine. You just tell yourself like, I'll get over this, etc. And I think when somebody goes, you know what, I'm not fine, I'm not okay, like I need to seek justice in my own way for this, I just think it's so amazing, and it should be championed. A lot of people would have been silenced. I you know, a lot of like celebrities, if they've done this, I imagine they've paid people off. She has just put herself through hell so other people can feel strong and feel like they can kind of take control of how they feel if something like this has happened to them. And just before we get on to Conor's response, I want to mention this. The SA helpline after this news came out had double the amount of calls than it normally has. In the 6 hours immediately after the verdict was delivered on Friday afternoon, the calls surged by 150%. Now, this is kind of a positive and a negative. It's a negative because this means, you know, like 150% more victims have came forward, which is horrific. However, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but it's a positive because people are actually speaking out. People aren't just putting up with this anymore. I say positive, but it's just, it's like, this is groundbreaking for people. The power that some people will feel seeing Nikita read out her own statement will be unimaginable. Like, this will genuinely change people's lives. Now let's talk about Conor's response to this. He's wrote so many tweets, so many Instagram posts, and he's deleted so many of them. Like, I don't even know how many of these are left up. I've just found them on Reddit. People want to hear from me. I needed time. I know I made mistakes. 6 years ago, I should have never responded to her outreaches. Straight away. right? Put it on her. She was outreaching to me. I should have shut the party down. I should never have stepped out on the woman I love the most in the world. That's all on me. That's another thing. Like, obviously, Conor was cheating on his long-standing girlfriend, who we're going to talk about later on in this video. As much as I regret it, everything that happened that night was consensual, and all the witnesses present swore to that under oath. I've instructed my legal team to appeal the decision. I can't go back and I will move forward. I am beyond grateful to my family, friends and supporters all over the world who have stayed by my side. That's it. No more. Getting back to the gym. The fight game awaits. Now, obviously, there's zero empathy towards his accuser here. It almost seems like he's going to kind of just carry on business as usual, I guess, whilst he appeals this in the meantime. There's no taking accountability for kind of like how Nikita's felt during this. The only accountability taken here is how he's made Dee Devlin feel, who's his long-standing partner. There's just like irrelevant stuff in it. Like, why has he mentioned that he's getting back in the gym? Like, we don't care. Sir, there's a case about you S-ing someone. No one cares about your bicep curls. Put that to the side, please. Just for a minute. You can tell he's drank a lot because he was just going on like a rampage of like quoting other tweets. Like, there's this one, falsely accused a man of and lost. Justice was served for James Lawrence. Yes. Deplorable what they done. Nikita Hand. Vicious liar. Appeal. Why does he speak like that? It's like AI's writing his tweets. 2 men falsely accused. 1 vindicated. The other soon to be. Congrats, James Lawrence, on absolute exoneration. Twice this heinous accusation was put to you, and twice it was shown as false. Lies. It is absolutely disgraceful what they put you through here. Disgraceful. I look forward to seeing you further vindicate yourself and lambast those responsible in court. Like, how many exclamation marks is in this? We know what happened that night. There's another one. Everyone present knows, yet it was ignored. Every single statement of persons present on the night was ignored, and they all disputed Nikita's lies. Now, one thing I will note that it is actually bad what James has went through, because from what I've heard and what I've read, I do feel sorry for him because he seemed to know nothing about the essay that went on, as he was in a total different room. And even the person that he slept with, the person that Nikita worked with, said that she didn't see him do any wrong thing. Like, the sex they had was completely consensual. So I can't imagine how he's feeling during this. He must be feeling a little bit like you know, kind of like stuck about it all, especially since his name's also been dragged through the mud because of something Conor's done. However, James, they did believe you, but just in certain parts for some strange reason, and they apparently did not believe Danielle Keeley, the person that worked with Nikita, at all. Laughable. Also, with the damages, 60k and 188k, interesting choice of figures, it seems they didn't believe Nikita much either. How could they? Her original story was she was gang by security and chased from the hotel on foot. Absolute nonsense. How these lies were accepted, I will never know. A court of feeling and opinion, brainwashed into people via the mainstream media, not of fact. The report in court a laughingstock to everyone present. As clear as day. Bias. This is not a court of hard evidence and truth. It is a kangaroo court of opinions and feelings. We are not done yet, not by a long shot, no chance. On we fight, justice and truth will prevail. Appeal, 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 as well as other. Congrats, James, onwards and upwards. Now, obviously, as you can tell, Conor McGregor just completely feels like he's in the innocence here. Maybe that shows that he wouldn't have offered Nikita a settlement deal if he truly believed that he was innocent. But my thought is, well, if you completely believe that you're innocent and this evidence is going to stand up in court, why don't you go to criminal trial and really clear your name over this? Obviously, that's completely risky, because if it is proven in a criminal court that he's guilty of this, then he will do prison time. But that's the only way I can really see him kind of completely clearing his name. I feel like he never will clear his name, because I feel like this will always kind of be like held over his head, because it just will. It's going to tarnish his image. But surely he can't disprove this in a civil court, because he's completely invalidated a civil court here, saying it's a kangaroo court where it's just based on feeling. So surely if you're proven innocent in that court, then that means nothing as well, in his own words. There's even just some stupid tweets that he's had. Like, Jake Paul tweeted him saying, Dana hits his wife, Conor's convicted of, but I'm the bad guy. Like, how have you made an essay case against a woman about yourself? Oh my, I don't understand these people. Like, why is everything about this? The world could literally be ending, and they'd be like, does anyone consider how I feel about this? Jake Paul, the guy who made Team 10 once. Then Conor responded saying, no, you're a little nerd. Like, why are you concentrating on a Jake Paul tweet here with like a laughing emoji? Like, mate, this is not a time to be laughing. Now, I do want to talk about some of the huge public figures that are actually defending Conor McGregor. But before I get onto that, I just want to mention Dee Devlin, the partner of Conor McGregor, and how she's kind of feeling during all of this. These two have been together since young, like really, really young, before Conor was famous ages ago. I've seen the Netflix documentary, the Conor McGregor Notorious, I believe it's called. And they're both living in Conor's mum's house, and they're just trying to get by. Like, they're going from like paycheck to paycheck. Before all of this came out, it was actually a really sweet story, because like these two had like grown together, they'd made their own wealth, and she stuck by him during all of his endeavors. Like, she supported him through everything. Like, you see her at these events. Like, Conor owns bare knuckle boxing, and she's in the ring dancing to the music. Like, she hasn't got an interest in this, I don't believe, but she's like there showing up for her partner because she believes in him and loves him. And since all of this broke, people have been like considering, like, why is she still with him? Like, are they actually still together? Is this all for show? Now, I'm not going to play this video because it's actually quite disgusting that people recorded it. However, these kids actually filmed Conor McGregor and Dee Devlin having intercourse. This was during the time that the court case was ongoing, so clearly, you know, they're still friendly if they're doing this with each other. Now, obviously, I'm not going to show the videos because that's like a huge invasion of privacy that you would ever post this. But it just shows that, you know, clearly Dee Devlin is still in full support of Conor, even if he hasn't committed SA, he still cheated on her. And over the years, there's been like numerous kind of videos where Conor like has been clearly disrespecting Dee Devlin. Obviously, we don't know the boundaries in their relationship, but to any people from the outside, I would consider this disrespectful. There's this clip where Conor's like dragging this random girl's hair, like dancing with her, and then like his partner Dee's right there and steps in front of them. And then he slaps her butt. Like, don't worry, you're still the one, darling. Like, what? If I did that, I honestly feel like my partner would chop me nuts off. A couple of years ago, there was also the whole, like, Conor McGregor and Rita Ora situation, which is a little bit weird I don't know if you've seen this. Basically, like, Conor McGregor and Rita Ora were getting really close at, was it like an award ceremony? Like, Rita Ora put date night and then filmed Conor McGregor, and, like, they were pictured together, and they were, like, so close. Like, Conor had his arm around her. As a partner of Conor, if you saw this without like knowing that this was going on, you'd feel pretty disrespected, or at least I would, but I guess that like everyone's got their own different boundaries. Like, Conor got a lot of flack for this, and then like in a nightclub like a couple of weeks later, he then proceeded to shout out Rita Ora. Like, he's almost like proud of it. Like, it's so strange. Now, this could be completely false. I'm not too clued up about this story, so this is all alleged, just making that clear. There was a woman who came forward that claimed to have Conor McGregor's baby. I remember this photo circulating of the two. She claimed that she didn't want his money. She just wanted to prove that he is Clodagh's dad, and she's not lying. Now, obviously, I don't know the ins and outs of this. I don't know if that's completely fabricated, but just a weird thing to, like, come out with, and there's two photos of them clearly together. There's also this video where he kind of touches someone's boobs. Now, that was later deleted, and people have said that that isn't his partner's boobs. What? Why am I laughing at the word boob? How old am I? So again, it's just weird behaviour. Now, even during this, I still feel quite empathetic towards Dee Devlin, because they have like an entire family together, and she actually seems like a really nice woman. Like, whenever I've seen her over the years getting interviewed, she just seems dead sweet, dead funny. This must be horrific for her to go through. And the amount of videos I've seen on her, like calling her like so many names under the sun and being really harsh on her, I feel is pretty disrespectful in my opinion.
I'm sorry, but what kind of woman have you got to be to walk alongside your partner to his rape case? He then gets convicted and you're like, oh yeah, just stay together, it's fine.
Obviously, the woman in this video is like really angry, and so she should be, because this is like a horrific case. But it's so easy to say that from the outside when you're not emotionally involved in it. Like, she's been with this guy for so long. She's got kids with him. She's got an entire family with him. Like, I'm not trying to defend her here. I'm just trying to see this from her point of view, why it's not as easy as that. She's probably thinking of her kids. She's probably got so much stuff going through her head. I completely 100% know in my head that she's not just like, oh yeah, this is fine. She will not be fine with this. I guarantee in private she's telling him exactly what she thinks. But I just think it's really unfortunate that something that Conor's done, she's getting so much hate for it. Especially when not only has Conor done this, but she's also been cheated on. Like, she's also been severely hurt in this situation, and she's also finding out that her husband is a very, very bad person. I would just like to see more empathy towards her, because obviously, you know, this can't be easy for her. Like, I've seen so many videos like that attacking her, and you can clearly see in the pictures. Look at this picture of her. This was after the verdict took place and she was walking towards the car. Her eyes are literally filling up. Like, she looks like dead behind the eyes. Like, she is clearly so affected by this, and I just genuinely feel so sorry for her. So when people are accusing her of completely being fine with this, does this look like she's completely fine with this? I feel like all you need to see is this photo. That is completely it. Now, I'm just recording this the day after, and I've saw that Dee Devlin herself has actually responded on her own Instagram story, and these are absolutely mental. Like, she said, imagine a woman with her own boyfriend and child texting provocative pictures of herself to another woman's man with a family and a child on the way. This woman claims to know me, yet still went ahead and sent messages and pictures of herself over and over to my man, really, whilst out on a 3-day bender, texting excuses to her own child at home, where mummy is on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, Sunday morning, etc, etc, etc. My sons will be warned, women like you exist in the world. CCTV does not lie. I look forward the day the world will see the footage of you on that night and the carry-on of you. Not a bother on you having the time of your life. This is real evidence, video footage no one knew was being taken in the moment, which you miraculously don't remember. To me, it looks like you're the one in the lift. Conor and I dealt with these issues privately many years ago, as should be done in a relationship, and we have come out stronger than ever. We have 4 beautiful children now whose smiling faces and happy hearts are a testament to who he is and who we are. Now, obviously, it goes without saying that I don't agree with what Dee Devlin's saying here. Like, she is backing her man, but what does this say to, like, women worldwide when, like, another woman is saying something like this? Now, before I talk about people that are defending Conor McGregor, I think it is important to note that the vast majority of support has been towards Nikita. Loads of people are coming out. People have been marching in the streets after this. Like, this case is honestly groundbreaking for men and women, but for women mainly, because women just go through this like so much more. But I do just want to discuss a couple of public figures' opinions on this, like for instance Andrew Tate. Bullshit ruling against Conor McGregor. Women sleep with rich men, and if that man doesn't fund their lifestyle afterwards, they lie and sue. Their brutal narcissism can't take the L of being undesired. We've set a dangerous precedent. It's literally impossible to be a man in the Western world. Oh, finally! Somebody is discussing this. Finally, someone is speaking for the people. No. What the fuck are you going on about? What do you mean it's impossible to be a man in this Western world? You literally sit on a live stream with your top off, talking shite and make money for it. How's that impossible? You get paid to literally brainwash young kids into feeling more alpha. That's literally the most, like, impossible thing in the world. I'm not trying to say this is projection, because some men will have like valid points and like trying to pick holes in a story, and people that are doing that, like, you know, her story a lot of the time didn't match up, but she did get the verdict overall, so we have to respect that. And also, you can pick holes in someone's story and still be empathetic towards like what she's been through. That is a thing. You don't have to be completely one side or completely the other side. But I do think with a lot of, especially men that are coming out about this, I feel like it's a projection thing. It might be something where they might have treated someone a certain way, and then they're kind of projecting their feelings into a case that it could be construed as similar to like what they kind of might have committed. I'm not saying that's all men, But I'm just saying, some men, she could have easily have took a settlement agreement where she probably would have got more money. Like, this isn't about money. Do you really think she went through 6 years of hell trying to take this to criminal court and then settling for civil court just because Conor McGregor wouldn't fund her lifestyle? She would have to be insane, genuinely insane. Also, it was literally said that the tampon had to be medically removed. Are we just gonna like kind of brush past that as if that's just kind of like a little side thing that happened? No, that is insane. But everything else aside, that alone is enough for like me to be like, okay, this is pretty brutal. I feel like she's got a more than fair point to bring this to court. Other people that are verified on Twitter, I don't understand why. Twitter's just one of the worst platforms on the planet. A lot of controversy around this man right now. My personal opinion, Conor McGregor is innocent. The woman partied for 3 days, lying to her partner about her whereabouts, all while leaving a 3-year-old at home. She doesn't exactly scream morals and truth. Oh, finally! Finally! Because she cheated on her partner, that means she lies about SA. It's the exact pipeline that always happens. God, finally! Reese's diary is exposing the truth. It's just crazy though, because this has 18,000 likes and like 1,400 retweets, like and 12 million views. People clearly agree with this. You're not talking about, you're just disregarding everything in the case and just saying, well, she cheated on her husband, so I don't believe her. It's like, yeah, we've already mentioned in this video, she isn't a perfect person. What she did was evil in itself, but that doesn't disregard the fact that she was taken advantage of and she literally was SA'd. The paramedic said that she's never seen bruising like this before. Like, come on, surely that's got to count for something. Are we not like taking this into account? That's not her lying, that's an actual paramedic saying that. Well, the paramedic actually cheated when she was 12, so how can we take her opinion as fact? It's like, how far do you go with it? But yeah, I just wanted to cover this situation because I do want to do more serious topics on this channel, not just kind of fun ones. Let me know what you think about this entire situation and how like people have reacted to it and how it made you feel in general. If you have been through something like this and you feel like, you know, comfortable enough to open up in the comments about how like a verdict like this made you feel free to do that and use it as a safe space. And if you want to see another video from me, make sure to click this video right here or watch a more light-hearted video on my Reacts channel right here.